AskReddit. What is your freak this I quit story?
Man, I have a hell of a story. I worked for Publix in the deli. Started at 21. Worked my ass off. Worked 45 hours a week when they were short-handed. I got full-time in 3 months. Worst mistake ever. The difference between a full-timer and a part-time is they treat you like crap. Now I had a great set of managers. 95% of the managers were amazing people. The job itself was hell. Once you became full-time, you work ridiculous grueling 10 to 12 hours shifts. Sometimes you don't get a lunch until 9 hours in. I started having some health problems, mental illness related, and recently diagnosed with IBS with a couple food intolerances. I started slipping, working 12 hours, sometimes no lunches, getting out at 12 a.m. and going back in at 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. They just threw ridiculous shifts at us. One day they call me to the office and accuse me of a few weird ridiculous things and ask why my performance has been dwindling. Well, I broke and told them about my recent health issues and that I had been suicidal recently, and told them I'd been thinking of stepping down from full-time or asking to leave deli to be cross-trained in an easier department. They immediately are like, if you step down you lose your health insurance. They told me they can't guarantee me over 30 hours in order to keep my health insurance. Which is BS, because the minimum you get a week is 32 plus, because it's so short-staffed. I told them I needed to be out of the deli. They said they would get me in bakery just for a different pace. A month later, more 10-plus hour shifts. A week straight of getting out at 1 a.m. every night. I asked when I would be switched over. They kept saying, oh, next week. The final straw was like the end of that insane 1 a.m. shifts, because I had to be back at 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. the next day. I walked out the next day in the middle of a shift after spending 20 minutes in the freezer crying because my manager basically told me to get my head together. Yeah, would never go back.
I'm a nurse, and I was working in a nursing home 2 years ago. I need a liver transplant from medication used to help treat my arthritis. I was still healthy-ish, and able to work at the time. One of the downsides to my liver decompensating is the inability to control my blood sugar, which would drop down into the 50s. Low blood sugar can be dangerous, makes it very difficult to focus, and makes it seem like you're drunk and high at the same time, at least for me. During one shift, my sugar dropped twice. The first time, I ate some protein and took a break to get it back up before I started passing meds/narcotics. The second time, it was in the low 50s. I asked for someone to come take over for me, so my husband could pick me up and take me to the hospital. After an hour, they came and told me that there was nobody available, and then I would have to stay to the end of my shift. Despite the fact that there were 4 RNs sitting on their asses in their office. I called my husband, crying because I felt so bad and so frustrated. He freaked out, and drove to my work while on the phone with the State Board of Nursing and the County Health Department. He came in, packed my things, helped me walk to supervisor's office, and went ballistic. I have never seen my husband angry. We've never fought, so seeing this was kind of scary for me. After lots of swearing, while still on the phone with the County Health Department so they could hear the exact conversation, he told them I quit, and we left. Edit, a word, I have the most insanely incredible husband. I always say I had to move 1,400 miles to find my best friend and soulmate.
I was working as an ice cream vendor at an amusement park. It was the kind of ice cream that comes in tiny little flash frozen pellets. So I was selling my tiny overpriced cups of frozen ice cream balls, and has a line of a half-dozen people, when a manager came over and said he saw someone walk by with a cup that hadn't been leveled off. I acknowledged his comment and then continued preparing the ice cream cup for the next customer. After filling the cup, I used the scoop to scrape across the top of the cup and level off the excess pellets, because God forbid people almost get their money's worth. The manager said I didn't level it off well enough and snatched it from my hand, dumped it back into the bin and made me do it again while standing over me. The customer and I were both now silent and uncomfortable. So I filled the cup and leveled it off again the same way, because that's the only way to do it. This time he apparently approved and said that's how you should have been doing it the whole time. It isn't hard. Then he stormed away. Well, the previous day I had worked my entire shift without a break because the manager forgot to send relief to cover my stall while I took lunch, so I was already annoyed at the company. but being yelled at and belittled in front of customers was over the line in my book. So I handed the customer back his money and then similarly handed out free ice cream to the other people in line. Then I simply left. I didn't lock the ice cream freezer or empty/power down the register, I didn't let anyone know I was leaving, I didn't stop to turn in my name tag or polo shirt, I just freaking left. And I've never regretted that for a second.
Office job with a family company, 1 year's FTC, came to an end, and just before it ended, we had some financial advisors come in, nothing to worry about, lies, etc. UK HQ is where I was working. They decided to move the procurement team, my team, to Italy, who also had procurement team. I was called into a meeting room with my boss and HR, and was told there's some downsizing going on, but we'd like you to stay with us. Okay, cool. Catch is that the role will be based in Milan with the Italy team. And because I'd be on contract again, they can't offer me a moving package or full-time contract either, so I'd have to move myself. I just said, so you want me to take another fixed-term contract with no guaranteed full-time contract at the end, because, let's face it, that's how FTCs work, and the fact that I'm not getting a full-time offer after a year is proof, and you want me to move myself to Italy with no help from yourselves, using my own money for flights and anything I want to ship over, which by the way is a country that has pretty darn high unemployment levels for someone in their mid-20s like me. So if this all goes worst up, I'm left in a new country with no help from the company that brought me here. Oh, and presumably no raise either? Well, we'd have to reduce your pay to fall in line with what the analysts out there are making, otherwise it wouldn't be fair on them. Okay, I'm gonna say no thanks and thank you for the opportunity.
I know I am late, but this is my disgusting story. A friend of mine killed himself nearly a decade ago. When I requested the day off for his funeral, my request was denied. I had to go to work after going to the funeral of my 21-year-old friend. I was an event captain, so I had to be the face of the staff for the contact of the event. I tried my hardest to put on a happy face, but I failed. My mood was bad, and the event contact complained to my boss after the event. The next week I was scheduled as an event server for my whole schedule, less hourly pay, less tip percentage. When I asked my boss, I was told that I had been demoted because of the complaint from the prior event. I quit on the spot. I should not have been forced to work that day, and I should not have been demoted for being in a bad mood after burying one of my closest friends. Screw that place.
When 5 people in my place of work were diagnosed with coronavirus and 2 others were sick but refused to go to the hospital, GM closed store to initiate deep cleaning, and corporate directed GM to reopen, candidly saying, if she didn't they would find management who would run the show as directed. This after a month of being repeatedly shown how completely little my company cares about their retail workers, was enough. Numerous people are quitting. And I hope it spells the end for them. They are a truly atrocious company that's on the verge of death as it is. Edit, the company is Staples. I wasn't replying because I wasn't hovering on Reddit. Relax, people.
After taking a few days off work while my father was having a brain tumor removed, and still checking emails and attending conference calls from the hospital, my boss gave me a new project. On a Thursday afternoon she gave me a Monday morning deadline for a project that would take 6 to 8 days to complete. I worked 16 hours a day to get it done. When we met on Monday she asked how my weekend was. I worked all weekend. Then she asked if I got to visit my dad in the hospital. No, I didn't get a chance because I worked all weekend. A couple weeks later she pulled me into a meeting and said, I feel like you were resentful because you had to work, and I feel like I was really good when your dad was sick. Maybe you're just tired. Are you tired? She'd also make comments when I would leave the office on time, not early, on time. It's great that you just get up and go when your day is over. Like I have to go because I have a daughter, but you don't have any kids and you just leave at the end of the day. Yeah, B. I don't live here. I don't go home and sit in a dark room counting the hours until I get to come back here. I'm also not curing cancer, nothing we do here matters to anyone outside of here. I give you 100% when I'm here, but when my day is done, it's freaking done. I no longer work there.
My first job was working at an Amazon distribution warehouse. Granted, I had no idea what I was getting myself into, but I figured, hey, I need the money for bills. Starting off there was interesting to say the least. Hundreds of aisles on two sides of the warehouse with a single conveyor belt separating them all. All of us workers huddling up into groups for stretches every time a shift started. The buzzwords all along the cafeteria made it feel like I was in a cult. Our demographic makeup was a mix of young and elderly men and women from all walks of life. As time went on, I was overworked and I quickly realized the managers didn't give much care towards us. They only loved the new expansions to the building with more racks and conveyor belts. They tried little things like rewards and catering from Chipotle and Boston Market, but the workers who've been there since the building opened noted various complaints about working conditions, working in 90+ degree temperatures with no ceiling fans, spillages, overflowing aisles, shifting 50+ pound boxes, scanners not working, etc. My final straw was when I was assigned to shift 24,000+ packages on the new split conveyor belts with a woman who was pregnant during Prime Week. The belts overflowed that night. I realized if this was the type of thing I was going to do, then I didn't want it anymore. By that point I lost more than 20 pounds. I weighed 175 when I started, and when I quit I was 151 pounds. I quit after 5 months with no regrets.
My first job, at a pizza delivery place. I was almost 18 and I overheard my manager, in his 40s, and a few delivery drivers talking about throwing me a birthday party and spiking my drinks so they could do things to me. They had no idea I was around the corner listening. Maybe they were joking, maybe they weren't. I didn't care. I quit right then and there. Update: wow, people seem really interested in my pizza place experience. Thought I'd share some other crazy stuff that had happened prior to quit day, all of which should have made me quit a long time ago, but again a combo of fear and just plain really uncomfortable with confrontation / causing problems. 2 lesbian co-workers that were dating each other, and would pinch me a lot and tell me how perfect I was for the 2 of them because one liked straight girls and one liked underage girls. My manager would straight up tell me to show him my breasts. I declined. He would get mad if any of the male pizza delivery drivers talked to me for too long. I was called Barbie around the pizza place. One time, I said bite me sarcastically and my manager bit me. I almost quit from that, but I did get a slapping that I did not get in trouble for, other than my manager saying if I hit him again he would hit me back. Scared of not having a job, scared of manager finding me at my house, that he had my address, etc. Still glad I finally quit when I did though and didn't let things progress any further.
First job at McDonald's. 3 different managers all telling me to do different things, and getting mad when I listened to the others. I overheard the worst manager say to the people at the register, and many customers behind the counter, that someone need to teach Alice how to do her job. I didn't even say anything. Just walked out.
Kinda long, sorry. I was a manager at a company where the executives were ineffective. I worked 60 hours a week most of the time and had to do all of my director's duties because he didn't understand our systems. The work environment was also pretty hostile and passive-aggressive. People cried on the job daily in other departments, slightly less in mine. Managers and staff would snap at other departments the same way the executives did because of the stress. I tried to take care of my department and make sure they weren't being abused or taken advantage of. I had 3 days leave for a death in the family, but had to work every day from home and the funeral itself. It was especially vexing because it was to redo the same thing every day that my boss would just forget to complete and need done again the next day. I brought this to his attention, as well as all the other issues, and he said he would try to do better. Months went by and it got worse. Finally, our team sat down with him and told him things needed to change. I told him that the environment was more hostile and aggressive than ever and the team agreed. He told me that it was my perception and we needed an attitude change, then left for a meeting, which I had provided him the data for. I cleared out my desk and left, quit with HR. For me, the kicker is that he kept assigning me tasks and insisted that I was still working there for days. Never been more relieved to quit in my life.
I worked for a big chain tire store in a very rich part of town for a while. I was overqualified for the job, but it's what was hiring. One day I get a call saying another tech got fired for failing a piss test. I get in and our lead tech comes in with a torn bicep and has to be gone for a few months. So I'm now the most knowledgeable person in the shop, taking on a ton of extra duties and extra hours. So working 60+ hours a week as the only tech with any diagnostic abilities, I ask for a raise/promotion. The guy that was hired on a week earlier, amazing tire buster but can't do any mechanical repair past changing an air filter, get a double promotion and a $1 per hour raise. Put in my notice on the spot.
My mom's. I was studying overseas and my parents booked a trip to come out at the end of the school term, bringing along my two siblings, one who lived away from home, the other about to start college. It was a month-long trip, with lots of prepaid flights, trains, hotels, plus it would likely be the last big trip we all took together. Obviously, both my parents requested and secured approved PTO months in advance. It was the month of June, typical summer vacation. A couple days before the trip was to happen, my mom's boss hands her an assignment. Mom hands it back, saying she can't take it on as she has a month-long vacation about to start. My folks don't believe in hyperbole, but trip of a lifetime would be a fair description. Boss says, "Oh yay, sorry, you can't take vacation anymore." Mom says, "If you cancel my PTO, I quit." Boss, blank stare. Mom handed in her notice and left. We had an amazing trip. She got a new job on return.
Got a summer job while I was in high school at a place that made fiberglass tanks. I was told I'd be doing groundskeeping and yard work. Figured I'd scored an easy gig of bombing around on a ride-on mower and whatnot. Nope. The first day I show up, in a t-shirt and jeans, I was told the yard equipment wasn't ready. So they had me cut raw fiberglass for 8 hours with an X-Acto knife and no PPE. Being a dumb kid, I didn't immediately quit and did this for 3 more days. At least after the first day I'd brought my own gloves and long sleeve shirt. However, on said fated day 3 was when they were doing tank coatings. So about 10 feet away from me are 2 dudes in full PPE. We're talking coveralls, rubber gloves, glasses, face shields, and respirators. 10 feet away from me, in a poorly ventilated room, spraying the exterior of a tank with presumably fiberglass coating. I only made it a few hours before having to go to the bathroom to puke. Was told to quit being a weak and go back out on the floor, so I fortunately had a moment of not being a stupid kid and said I quit and walked home. Both parents were mad when I told them I'd quit. Joke's on them though, because a few years later that company killed 2 dudes. A guy asphyxiated while working inside one of the tanks, and the person that tried to rescue him also ended up dying. Whole place got shut down permanently.
A little Greek restaurant I worked at early in high school. Got hired, and spent the first 2 days cleaning everything the owner and son were too lazy to clean. Years worth of old grease in the deep fryer's interior, mold in the fridges, stains in the bathrooms, etc. Just very gross. Ask about payday on the end of the second day and it went something like this. "So, how does payday work here? Is it weekly, bi-weekly, what? You are on training. If we like the job you do, we will hire you with pay." Confused, I ask, "So you're saying that you're not going to pay me for cleaning years worth of mold, grease, and bathroom stains?" "No, you will be paid for work once your training is done." "Oh, okay. Screw this, I quit." Edit 1. Wow, I did not think this would get this level of attention. Edit 2. For those saying that this level of mistreatment is just a thing with Greeks, I can't speak to your experiences, but I have since worked in a couple of other Greek restaurants and was treated great.
Joined a call center with the obvious shady pay structure. They said the calls are inbound, so I thought, hey, that's not too bad then. Turns out the inbound calls were generated by their robocall system, indirectly implying that they were Google but never saying so, and we were directed to use some dubious answer if someone asked, "Are you Google?" After getting yelled at and cussed out and constantly getting people who had been called many times before and were clearly irate, I just got up and left in the middle of the day. I also complained to Google that these guys were pretending to be Google, and these guys were very scared of getting complaints like that. Seriously messed up people.
I was fractured my orbital socket in an industrial accident. Another employee lost focus at the wrong time, was supposed to wait for a hand signal and didn't. We had been working over 90 days straight of 13 to 14-hour shifts and living in crappy motel a 45 minutes drive from our worksite. We were supposed to be on a rotation where we didn't work more than 3 weeks at a time. It was a close call and could have been a lot worse. I'm glad I saw it coming and had time to at least try and get out of the way. I got sent away after a night in the ER while the rest of that crew continued to work. After spending 2 or 3 days at home, the boss called to say that he needed me in Alaska in 2 days and that my flight was already booked. Told him I quit right on the spot.
Screw this. Just kidding. I love Reddit videos. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Chukbanai Moth Totlan. Have a great day.